Okay. So we're going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. It's 6:01, November 13th. And we're going to start the Northwest San Pedro Neighborhood Council monthly board meeting. I'm not sure if we have students on board here, but if there are any students, could you raise your hand?
I took a screenshot too.
Okay.
Maybe if they leave their names or whatever other information in the chat, it'll become part of the recording, and then we'll refer to that later.
Yeah.
There is no chat.
There
Right.
is no chat.
Okay.
So
I'll just have to email the teacher with who attended.
So if you, Melanie, you have the names there of the people? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So students, you can go ahead and lower your hands. Thank you. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and start the meeting. We had the we need to get roll call. Victor, would you be so kind?
Yeah, just doing a quick check and see if there's anybody to move over, but I don't see anybody else.
I think
All right.
Abby Norman is looking to get on. For the 1 minute, she'll be there.
Okay, let's wait a second then.
Is she the one that's just Abby?
There it is. There she is.
Okay.
Yep, there she is.
Okay, great. So let's go ahead and take roll.
Okay, John Barbera is excused. Vic Christensen here. John Dominglio.
Here.
Larry Eaton. Remember to unmute.
Larry, unmute. And
Let me see if we can.
Here, sorry.
there you go. Okay.
Craig Goldfarb.
Here.
Cynthia Gagne.
She was saying that she was having a new computer put in and she might be attending late. She might.
Again?
Yes.
Okay. So for right now, she is, I guess, excused absence at this point.
Right.
Well, actually, I'll come back to her because there's another issue with her. Gwen Henry.
Present.
Melanie Lebrecht.
Here.
Kelly Miller.
Here.
Abby Norman.
Here.
Thomas Norman.
Here.
Ray Regalado.
Here.
Michael Signorelli.
Here.
Angela Sumner.
Here.
Chris Valle.
Here.
Okay. Okay, that's 13 currently present. If and when the time comes,
Cheryl's
based on
having problems getting in. She says that it says
who?
Cheryl. What's happening with Zoom says host has another meeting in progress. Is she using the right link?
Probably not. Tell her just to go back to the website and click that one on the calendar.
Or on the agenda?
Okay, let's give Cheryl a minute
Oh,
or
there
so.
she is. I'll move her over.
You know,
That way she can be here to share the agenda.
Here she is. Okay.
Sorry
So
about
we have,
I
I'm
joined.
sorry, go ahead, Cheryl.
I joined, but it was giving me a very strange message. Okay.
Okay, so we have quorum.
Okay.
We have a new youth rep will be swearing in. Is Alonzo Jenkins on board here someplace?
Have you already taken roll?
Yes,
Oh,
13.
all right.
We
Well,
have 13.
no, but I'll take it.
Do we have Alonso?
I do not see
I
him.
don't see him.
Jordan Cortez has a hand up, maybe. Jordan knows something.
Can you
Jordan.
unmute Jordan? There he is. Jordan? Hello, Jordan. Unmute yourself.
I was just gonna say I'm a student that I'm here. That's
I'm
it.
sorry?
I was just gonna say I'm a student that and I'm present
Oh,
today at
oh.
this meeting.
Okay, terrific. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so with that, since Alonso is not here at this time, let's move on to general public comment on non-agenda items. And we'll come back if someone sees him appear on the attendee list. So agenda item number 3, general public comment on non-agenda items.
Share
Anyone?
the agenda.
You could. Who? Are we sharing the agenda? Anyone?
Well,
Who's sharing the agenda?
I thought Cheryl was.
Oh, I have, do I even have that ability? I can do that. Give me a minute.
There we
Oh.
go. Thank
Somebody
you.
else beat me to it. Thank you. I'm still trying to take roll.
Okay, so I see one hand up from Lori. Would you like to take your 2 minutes? We have 2 minutes per agenda item at this point. Per comment, I should say.
Hi, good evening, board. Thank you. Some of you already know that two new stop signs were put in at the corner of Capitol and Myler, and which we've asked for a long time, and we're hoping it'll slow people down, but people are not aware of it because it just popped up. We didn't have any advance notice. I was talking to John Barbera earlier, and he said he saw several cars roll right in front of him when he was trying to turn onto Capitol. So I don't know what we can do to try and notify the community, put some signs up, something, but it's going to take a while before people realize there is a stop sign. And he had great concerns he wanted me to share with you, that while we need these stop signs to slow people down, it did not. So not sure what to do about it. Maybe notify our senior lead officer and ask if maybe while that's new, they could kind of patrol. I'm not asking them to ticket people, maybe just give them a warning. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori. Anyone else? Public comment? Angel.
Hello.
Hi.
I had a question. If I was marked as like a student that was like from San Pedro High School, because I didn't know if I was marked as a student because it wouldn't let me unmute. I had to switch to my iPad. I was
Okay.
on my Chromebook, but it wouldn't let me unmute, and there's no chat box.
Okay. Well, we got you down now.
You've been
And
recorded.
Oh, and as well, how would we show verification of 4 hours for government? Because
I'll be
this.
emailing your teacher.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
Me, Ray.
Okay,
Ray,
Melanie, you have something?
yes. the new stop sign that has been installed at Taper, I observed it for 45 minutes today as well, or on Capitol and Myler, and then again for 25 minutes, and people were running it. But also one of the observations I made, especially going up from Target all the way to Capitol, that up Capitol towards upward bound towards Myler, the tree is covering the stop sign. And so I made phone calls to the SLO, to Andy Rowe, who's in charge of traffic, as well as contacted our CD15 team. A tree trimmer engineer is going to be coming out. Drew came and looked at the tree. A tree engineer is coming out. They're going to be trimming the tree back. They're also going to be doing random ticketing and as well as traffic patrol at that site, want to make sure people are aware that those stop signs are there.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Gwen?
This once again is the sign situation. I hope that one of the representatives
Yeah.
from Tim McOster's office might be listening at the moment. One thing that has been beneficial with new signs is the orange flags that are also often placed on each side of a sign. There are orange cones often placed in that location as well to bring extra colorful attention to those new signs. I've seen that in other neighborhoods. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Gwen. If anyone else has any comments about the new signs or stop signs or things like that, I think it would probably be more appropriate under our public safety conversation as an agenda item. So we've already got these here. Our public safety person is on hand, so we'll I'm sure she'll follow up. Thank you all. Okay, one last call for general public comment on non-agenda items. Okay, I see no hands. Agenda item number 3 is now closed. And we are going to move on to our homelessness liaison report. Lori?
Thank
Is
you. I was
anyone-
waiting to
Oh, there
be
you go.
unmuted. Are you gonna show me on the screen while I'm doing this report?
Well, the report was on,
And also, are you gonna show my report?
it was on there originally. It was on there right now.
Okay. I'd like to see it. And also, I'll be reporting along with Nancy Wilcox. So if you could promote Nancy also to unmute her and have her on the screen so you can see both of us. Because right now you can't see me, can you?
No, we can't.
Okay. So if you can do that, that would be great. I'll go ahead and get started. Thank you, everybody. As you
Okay, we lost audio from Lori if she's speaking.
Lori, are you muted?
No, she's not.
Well,
Nope,
she
now
is
she's off.
muted right now.
You
There
have
we
to
go.
be- You have to be
Okay.
promoted to a panelist to be visible, so
I'm there now. Got it.
takes a second to switch over.
Okay.
Start your report over again.
Okay, well, I've got the usual information on how to report situations for people in need. The CD15 working group last month had a special meeting, and that meeting was the same night as our board meeting, so we weren't there. The next meeting is scheduled for December 3rd, and that'll be in person. Okay, and if you're not receiving updates from the CD15 working group on homelessness, email to the cd15wg@gmail.com so that you can receive regular updates. Okay, the next meeting, they're going to focus on the homeless count, which I'm going to cover a little bit right now, and also the Inside Safe program, They may talk a little bit about election results. At the time I turned this report in, the election results hadn't been in. They're not final yet, but it does appear pretty strong that Measure A has passed. And I'm working on finding out when that increase in tax will actually become effective, and I should have an update for the next month. Next, I'm addressing questions that were asked to me at the last meeting by Gwen about pets for people experiencing homelessness. So I actually thank you for asking that, because I was able to find additional information. Like I usually share, most of the publicly funded shelters allow someone to bring a pet to their shelter, but there are some that are not pet friendly, and that does become a barrier, because there are people experiencing homelessness that are offered shelter and they won't take what's offered to them if they have to leave their pet. So there is a LA County program with County Animal Control. I've included a link so you can get detailed information. They assist pet owners with direct services and referrals to service providers that might accept pets, etc. So for anybody who wants to know more information, I suggest you go to that link. And I hope, Gwen, that answered some of your questions about pets. Also, Gwen, it's not in this report, you asked me last month about resources for college students experiencing homelessness. The answer to that is some campuses have assistance. I think Thomas Norman could talk to us about his school. But if they do not have resources, then those students would use the same resources that any other adult experiencing homelessness would use. So that's what information in getting back to you on that. Whoever's sharing the screen, can you scroll to the next page, please? Okay, what happened?
I'm scrolling. For some reason, it's not letting me preview. Let me try downloading.
Does somebody else have the report that they could share the screen?
Thomas, did you open it from the agenda packet folder?
Yes, I did.
'Cause that should, if you actually double clicked and opened it, that should let you go all the way.
There's actually an arrow. There's an arrow to the left that should help you.
I'll try downloading it. It's not working from, there we go. Okay, here we are.
Okay, next page, please. There we go. So I was giving you an update. What, too far? Just page, no, you Measure ULA, that was on the last ballot. Go down, I mean, you've gone too far. Up, yeah, thank you, stop. So I was just giving you an update, that information, because that was a funding stream dedicated to affordable housing production. So I've given you some data on how much they've collected so far, and a little bit of information on where the data collection. There's a ULA dashboard, so you can get very specific information. I won't spend a lot of time with that. Anybody who's interested in that data can go to that dashboard. Okay. Then the next thing is I have an update on what I shared last month on the city council motion that was dealing with remodels. When landlords are remodeling their building, there was the city council motion, just cause for eviction ordinances, and the city council supported that 11-0. And so now it's going to go to the housing department and the city attorney to draft recommendations for an ordinance that would amend that just cause rule. So that is the update there. And then the next page. And is Nancy here?
Yes.
Okay, hi Nancy. Okay, so let me introduce Nancy Wilcox. If you don't know her, Nancy, for many, many years, oversaw all the homeless counts throughout SPA 8, our service planning area. She is our resident expert on the processes, collecting the data, managing the counts. The next count, okay, is scheduled. They've moved it from normally being on Wednesday to being on a Thursday, and it's on Thursday, January 23rd. The report says the venue is to be determined, but Michael worked with LASA this week, and it will be held at Peck Park. And so what Nancy's helped us do is put together some data here. And this is raw data, and comparing last year to this recent year, the changes by the different categories, the dwelling types. And so I'm going to turn it over to Nancy to give you a basic understanding. And there is a link to the dashboard. So if you want more information than shown here, because we've broken it off by the 3 San Pedro neighborhood councils, CD 15, okay, and overall San Pedro together, but you can see it by supervisory district, tracks, all kinds of different ways you can look at the data for you data nuts. So I'm going to hand it over to Nancy.
Okay, thank you, Lori, and thank you for inviting me to speak about the homeless count. So I'm just going to give a really quick overview on the information that's provided here, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have, again, about the methodology primarily. I think that's what Lori was saying. Oh, what happened? That's what Lori was mentioning you were very interested in. So thank you. The Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority is responsible for administering and conducting the homeless count, and it's called the Los Angeles Continuum of Care. And so they, the count was back in January. They released some of the initial data in June, July timeframe. Quite recently, they provided a dashboard that Lori mentioned, so you can really look at a lot of different information. This is actually the first year where they are providing information at the neighborhood council level. Normally, we used to get it just at the kind of neighborhood level, so to speak, so we would know like Wilmington or San Pedro, Harbor City, et cetera. And that's in addition to all of the 88 independent cities. And Lori also mentioned that when you go to the LAHSA website, you can also look at any of the 5 supervisory district breakouts. You can also look at the city of Los Angeles, 15 different council districts and so forth. But again, this is really the first time that they've broken it out by neighborhood council. So you can kind of look at the data there on your own. They, of course, they have the 2024 results, and then they also published the results from last year. What I did was I just kind of made this little spreadsheet just to make it a little bit easier to kind of maybe compare what the differences were. So many of you I know probably participate in the homeless count, and the one main component that a lot of community volunteers help out is with collecting what we call the raw data. And on a Wednesday night back in January, it was January 24th, I believe, we had Lori and I kind of led the San Pedro deployment site. And I know, again, a lot of you folks were, we appreciate you coming out and helping us count. And at the time, we gave you a map, and you had probably an application on your phone, so you could kind of canvass the particular, every single street in a census tract. We probably gave you maybe 2 or 3 tracts to check out. And so when we talk about raw data that's on these numbers, that it reflects what was seen that night by all the 5,000 volunteers that came out during the 3 nights that comprised the homeless count. So, and I'm just going to look at the green San Pedro results right here. So we actually found, so all of the teams that deployed up San Pedro, they found 16 tents, 47 cars, 59 vans, 54 RVs. And then they also found 90 people that were maybe at a park bench, maybe in a sleeping bag, maybe something of that nature. And so what they do after the count, and this is why it takes so long before the numbers are actually published, is they then take these raw numbers, and in order to determine an approximation of how many people that represents, what they do is, if you look at this orange box, it says dwelling multipliers. What they do is, like, for every tent, they multiply that number by 1.57 for every, and because based on the demographic surveys that are also conducted, usually from January to usually May, March timeframe, they actually go out and interview several people in all they're called service planning areas, but across the LA County. And based on those surveys, they come up with these multipliers. So again, based on that, they determined that for every car, just as an example, there's 1.43 people living in that car. And when you look at the multipliers, a lot of it makes sense. It's kind of intuitive. You just kind of assume that more people are living in RVs. That's why the number there is a little bit larger, as far as the multipliers. So that's kind of how all that works. So what I didn't show on here, but you can definitely do the math. If you just want to look at the San Pedro, if you take the raw data and go ahead and just kind of put in a spreadsheet or kind of, if you have a calculator or something, San Pedro, it was estimated that for the 2024 count, there were 575 people total in San Pedro. And of that, 212 people were in shelters, which you kind of see on that top row. And then which left 363 people living in these type of dwellings. So let me stop there and just see, is it okay if I just ask questions before I go on? Is that Lori, or would you rather I continue?
No, sure, because if somebody has their hand up.
Sure.
Okay, Gwen, I see your hand up. Go ahead. Quick
So-
question.
So I just wanted to clarify. So, for example, the numbers in RV, so the City of LA Council District, when you see 453 RVs, that's not the count of the actual RVs. That's the count of the people within the RVs.
No,
Is that-
could you scroll up a little bit? Perfect. Okay. So again, this is the raw data. So this is actually how many dwelling types all of these numbers. It's the number of physical tents they saw. It's the number of physical RVs, during the homeless count, as many of you know, we don't actually go up and knock on windows or knock on doors saying, excuse me, we're doing the homeless count. Can you tell me how many people are inside or how many people live there? We don't do that at all. So the raw numbers, again, reflect how many physical dwellings
RVs
that we see,
Okay, so
not the
there
number
were-
of people. If you want to get the number of people living in the RVs, and if you again, if you're interested in CD15, you would have to do let me tell you in general what you do, but you would take this 453 number of physical RVs that were found across CD15, multiply it by 1.65, and that's where you get the number.
And Nancy, if I could just clarify, the
Sure.
numbers that LASA puts out to the public is the multiplier number. They do not share the raw data when they gave the figures a few months ago, if I'm correct, Nancy. Okay. So now what you're seeing is how they got to those final numbers. The raw data times the survey identified multiplier is what you see published, correct?
Correct. And so I do want to, when you're talking about CD15, of course, one part of CD15 up in Watts, that's actually in Service Planning Area 6. So what happens is I have a note down here. These multipliers are specific by Service Planning Area. I gave you the multiplier, I'm sorry, I should have labeled it. The dwelling multipliers here are for SPA 8, Service Planning Area 8, which is the South Bay. The multipliers for Service Planning Area 6, which is where Watts is located, their multipliers are probably slightly different. So I just want to caution people when you, does that make sense? So you can't exactly look at the RVs for, again, CD15 because it crosses SPAs.
But you can look at San Pedro's numbers.
Oh,
and
yeah,
those-
yes, absolutely. Right. And if you go on the dashboard, if you're kind of curious, hey, how does that compare with Wilmington, whatever, you can definitely use the dwelling multipliers that we have here for any of the, CD15, that would be, of course, Pedro, Wilmington, Harbor City, Harbor Gateway.
I see Vic's hand up.
I have what could be a somewhat convoluted question, or about the method.
Mhm.
Are you at a point where that question is okay to ask, or are you still going through more and I should come back?
No, go ahead and ask it.
Okay. My understanding is this is done once a year, and and I understand there's a manpower issue and things like that, but you can't really see what I would call good trends with so high level of granularity. And in particular with San Pedro, when you have these three, all three areas of San Pedro shown on the same chart or same page, a higher level of granularity, or lower as you could say, like, monthly versus yearly type of thing, might show some trends of people leaving, say, central San Pedro and seeing a decrease of the count there, and then moving to coastal and seeing a corresponding increase in a different part of San Pedro.
Mhm,
Is there any, again, I know there's the manpower issue, but
okay,
is there
so,
any way to show that kind of thing, or are we
Okay.
at too high a level?
okay, so let me answer it a couple different ways. First off, you are correct in that this particular, the official homeless count that's done, it is done the last week, the last couple of weeks, typically in January. And the reason it's done then at that particular time is that homeless counts take place across the entire country. And then these results are then combined into a report that goes to Congress. It's called the AHAR. Well, you don't care about owning that. But what happens is this homeless count is actually, it's statutory. It's actually by congressional law that homeless counts have to be done. And the main purpose is to look at kind of trends and kind of looking at things, and you're right, absolutely right, from a very, very super high level. And in this case, it's a national level. But of course, we also get information about state level, about county level, and so forth. And if I don't know if folks are interested, but I can mention how these results are used in particular for funding at all of those levels. So that's the main purpose. And of course, we do want to track whether homelessness is kind of going up or down. Even, people talk about moving the needle and so forth. So that's what this homeless count is really great for, because the methodology is identical, whether you like it or not. It doesn't, they always use the same methodology, the same way that they get the multipliers, the same survey. Everything's very consistent from year to year. So it is a very reliable way to look at high-level trends. Now, I think what you're interested in is really looking more on the day-to-day side. Homeless count is not good at that, not good at that at all. Looking at the results is not a good way to kind of see local trends. A couple of reasons. One is, as you point out, we just don't do it often enough. But also, it's like, if we did the homeless count in, let's say, a week later, the results would be different, because it's a point in time count. It's actually, again, another acronym, PIT count. And so that's why it's really not a good way to look at that. Probably the best way, if you're interested in kind of more trends, I'm not sure you're going to get it at the neighborhood council level, but you might get it more at the neighborhood level, like San Pedro versus Wilmington versus, and you want to look at unincorporated areas, you want to look at Carson, all of the other neighborhoods that in cities that surround San Pedro. I think you're better off looking at other analyses that the Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority could probably run for you based on the street outreach that's done. I don't know if that answers your question. Are you interested to see how I can tell you a little bit about how these numbers are used as far as funding, if that's of interest to folks?
No, what my main thing was, as I think Ray said, or somebody said, Data Geeks, is I think the main issue in seeing a trend is the frequency. And if you only do it once a year, you're going to see a very, regardless of what level of government, whether it's state, national, whatever, you're not going to see the trends as clearly as you would if you did it, say, monthly. I think daily is too much, but
Sure.
say monthly.
No.
And in our case, since we have 3 areas of San Pedro shown, there's a possibility that you could see if you did it at a granularity where it makes sense and it would show it, which I think yearly is too high, where you're not going to see it, you may see people going from central to coastal, or from San Pedro, or from northwest to central. And these tables that are on this page here might show a decrease in one and a corresponding increase in another, where you could better see the trends.
So,
but to do that, you got to have more manpower and things like that. So
you do, and just because a number increases one area and decreases in another adjacent area, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's one
True.
person moving from one area to another. So I would just kind of caution folks about
true.
how one interprets
I'm just
that.
thinking of general trends. Obviously, you're not going to be tracking an individual and know one caused the other. But
I get that.
What I'd like
the homeless count is not. Its purpose is not to really look at it at such a fine level of like you're suggesting. And again, this is the first year that they're actually presenting the information at neighborhood council levels. If I could just take a minute, maybe to talk about how the homeless count was used at maybe a national level, and you know, maybe that's too high a level, but the homeless count was actually I mentioned that this is a statutory requirement. The street count is actually only mandated that it be done every other year on odd number of years. But it turns out starting in 2015, 2016, they actually wanted, there was a lot of much more interest, kind of what you're suggesting, but more at a national level, to really do the count more often. And a lot of it's no coincidence that you know, President Obama was president at that time, and for some of you who might remember, he actually he had a very lofty goal of trying to end veteran homelessness during his tenure. And so what they did was the VA and the HUD, they actually poured in hundreds of millions of dollars, in fact, billions of dollars across the entire county, just focused on trying to end veteran homelessness. And so, but they recognize that, you know, when you're giving so much money and allocating so much for kind of a specific purpose, they didn't want to wait like every other year. I mean, that's even worse than, right? It's like, hey, you know, it's hard to go back to Congress to justify, hey, you know what, we want to end veteran homelessness, you know, that money you gave us last year was great, but we need the same amount, you know, without showing results. So that's kind of what prompted a lot of they're called continuum of cares to start to do homeless counts throughout every single year. So the reason I bring up vets, so it's because there has been a tremendous amount of fiscal resources given to veterans programs, again, across the entire country. And many cities have actually gone down and ended vet homelessness. LA is kind of, you know, we have a ways to go, but excuse me, one of the years when it was actually going down in several other major cities across the country, it was shooting up in Los Angeles. So what happened was the next year, the VA was able to allocate tens of millions of dollars more to the LA area to focus on. There's two major programs that are targeted for veterans. One's called BASH, which is kind of like the Section 8, the housing vouchers. And then there's another one that's called Supportive Services for Veteran Families. But between those two major programs, again, they poured in a lot of extra money came into Los Angeles because our numbers had shot up. So when you look at it the following year after that, veteran homelessness actually started to decrease. And actually there's nationally, the trend is really very promising that they are going to end veteran homelessness in other parts of the country. So that's kind of how the numbers are used at that kind of high level for policy making. And it isn't just I tried to give you a very tangible example of how that actually, the homeless count numbers really did affect what we do here in Los Angeles. Again, it isn't what we did in Service Planning Area 8. It certainly wasn't necessarily like, wow, did vet homelessness go up or down in San Pedro? We don't look at it at that granular of a level. It's more like Los Angeles County.
And Nancy, let me point out that you'll see that there's a significant increase for people in shelter from 2023 to 2024. Okay, a lot of that can be attributed to the Inside Safe program.
That's right.
So those people are not in shelter, are not counted by us volunteers during that evening. That is actually reported data from the service provider like Harbor Interfaith. And so that's a significant number to acknowledge that that is a good thing.
Right. Thank you, Lori, for pointing that out. And in fact, that really has, and when you look at some of the numbers, again, if you go, those who are interested, you can go to the dashboard and you can pull up just LA City. And if you do look at, in particular, number of people in shelter, it went up substantially. And that is because of Mayor Bass's initiative.
And the other thing, so Nancy, you could spend hours talking to her because she's
Yeah,
just
I know, really. So
information.
yeah, you have to tell me when to shut up. So,
But I want you to understand, okay, so the homeless count, those of us who were deployment site coordinators reported a lot of problems with the last couple of years with the count. LASA really listened. And so Nancy has acknowledged at the bottom, if you want to scroll, whoever's showing the screen there, some of the improvements. And Nancy, maybe you could just real quickly explain those improvements for people who plan to volunteer this year.
right. Yeah. Thank you again, Lori, for giving me the opportunity to say, to improve on this. So LASA did hear a lot of, well, after last year's count, they held several feedback sessions with a lot of people within the community. Lori and I sat in a couple of them. I actually wrote a multi-page letter with my comments. And what happened was that LASA kind of heard the community loud and clear that, yes, there were a lot of problems with the phone app in particular that folks were using. And it was very cumbersome. Even just the check-in process, if some of you participated in the count last year, there were like all kinds of QR codes and it was quite confusing. It was very complicated. So the good news is they've really streamlined that process and it's much simpler to sign up and to, you know, and to find the information to get the training you need, but they also improved the app itself. And they've actually been piloting that app with certain members of the community. I actually sit on a homeless count advisory board with the Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority. So as my role leading the Homeless Coalition here in SPA 8, I was able to participate in some of those pilots of the new app. And looking at some of the back end, it's called a dashboard, and it is much better than last year. So if you do, so if you're a little discouraged last year because of, you know, you got to the site and it's like, I don't understand what's QR code, what do I do? I hope that you would consider volunteering this coming January, because it is much cleaner. It's much better.
And the registration is now open. They've changed. It used to be called They Count Will You. So now I've got the link right there to the count.lahsa.org. You can go ahead and sign up now if you're interested in being a volunteer. So anyway, I want to thank Nancy, because a lot of times you guys ask me a ton of questions about the homeless count, and there's no better expert than Nancy. If you have more questions, you can email me and I'll go through Nancy and get back to you on those.
Lori and Nancy,
Okay.
thank you so much for being here. And I'm sure we can probably take a whole evening just to learn from both of your experiences. You guys both have really good information, and if I can just throw a plug, I think it's really important that we everyone consider working on the homeless count. It's really rewarding. At the end of the night, you feel good because you did something great. So
yeah,
hats off to both of you for all the work you're doing, but
yeah,
the rest of us, let's think about putting a little time in.
Yeah, and Ray, thank you for mentioning that. And, you know, one of the things that we really like people to do is we really love for community members to volunteer in the count in their neighborhood. You know where all the people are who are experiencing homelessness. You see them daily, you see them in the evening, you know where they're kind of tucked away in corners, you know where those RVs are kind of parked and so forth. So it really, you know, we get the most accurate count when we get community members, very dedicated community members, like folks who are, coming to neighborhood council meetings to participate in the count.
Right.
So thank you.
Thank you both. Okay, I see a hand up, and Gwen, I'm kind of hesitant to call because sometimes the questions get really long, but if it's a quick comment, then go for it, but we got to move on with the agenda.
The yes or no question. Nancy, will we be seeing you again? Now it's the raw data, but will we see some observances and analysis from the numbers for our local CD15 and our local region and Los Angeles as whole?
I'm happy to do that, but I would want to know kind of specific what you're asking. And so if you want to talk to Lori and she can, again, kind of just relay that information, I'd be happy to do it, putting my kind of homeless coalition hat back on. We actually used to do this quite a bit in all the years, and I'm happy to do that again.
All right. Well, thank you
Okay.
very much. Very informative, as it always is, with our homeless reports. Great dedication here. Thank you so much to both of you. Okay, we're going to move on to, we're closing out agenda item number 4. We're going to move on to 5, and we have our elected governmental and public safety representatives. So I'm going to kind of take them in the order in which I see them in line. So actually, I see Drew's hand up. So I saw her. So Drew, go for it. And then we have Jocelyn. I see her name there. So Jocelyn, if you have something to say, maybe you could raise your hand after Drew is up, and we can go from there. So Drew, welcome.
Hi, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. I have a short update for everyone tonight. I'll start with the local and then I'll go a little bit bigger. So I don't know if some of you noticed throughout most of the afternoon, the lights were out at Summerlin, and the traffic lights were out at Summerlin and Western. We called LADOT, who then said that it belonged to RPV, and then we called RPV and they said it's actually Caltrans. So we now have a map of all of the stoplights and where they belong. So I will be sending that to you by email in the coming day or so. But once we reported it to Caltrans, within about half an hour, they had crews on the spot. And as of 10 minutes ago, the light is moving. The lights are back on and traffic is moving. I know that we were all excited for this striping work that they did for the median work on Western Avenue to be completed. The original completion date was yesterday. Unfortunately, that came and went, and Caltrans informed us that they had to push the restriping to a different date. I did raise today the concern that I have that people are using the far left turn lanes, which have been closed off by a solid yellow line. People are still using them. And so you'll see that there are actually like 2 lanes of cars turning left into single lanes of traffic onto Weymouth or on Westmont. And it's definitely not a safe situation. And so I raised this to them. Assemblymember Al Maritsucci's office has also raised it to them, and they even went so far as to ask for static message boards and notices that can be transmitted to residents via email and social media. And so our government affairs liaison at Caltrans has heard the message, and he's passed our concerns along to the construction and project managers, and we hope to have a response soon. Western also received some love from our Clean 15 team today, and we cleared away all of the weeds in the center median between 1st Street and 19th Street. And over the coming weeks, we'll continue to clear out the weeds along the sidewalks between Summerlin and 25th Street. Winter Wonderland. We are hosting a Winter Wonderland this year again. It will not be at Peck Park. It will be at the Maritime Museum. It'll be on December 7th from 4 to 7 p.m. There will be a Christmas tree lighting, snow sled runs, appearance by Santa Claus, kids crafts and activities for children, live entertainment, and more. This year, we're partnering with the Port of Los Angeles and West Harbor, and we hope to have your support. I know you have it later down on the agenda. We need all the help we can get for this to make it a great event for our community. Also today reported to me was a challenge that we are facing with a stop sign at Myler and Capitol. There was a new 3-way stop sign that was installed at Capitol at Myler Street. However, there is a very big tree when you are driving westbound on Capitol just before you get to Myler, and that is completely covering the stop sign. And so in an effort to maybe address the root cause of some cars continuing to run that stop sign, we've submitted a service request to the forestry division for them to trim that tree. And they're really good about obstruction. So I hope within the next week we'll see that tree addressed. And then a library update. I'm happy to report that the new roof has been installed. The branch also has new flooring, and the building has been completely recabled. Painting will soon commence, and new ceiling tiles are going to be installed. We hope to see the library open in the coming month. And finally, to the big picture, some of you may now know that the Councilman McOsker, is currently in Croatia on a delegation together with Supervisor Janice Hahn and some folks from the Port of LA and Altasea. And today they signed a very special memorandum of understanding together with the president of the National Olympic Committee of Croatia. And the goal of this MOU is to establish a Croatia House in San Pedro during the 2028 Olympic and Paralympic Games. The agreement formalizes a commitment between LA and Croatia to celebrate Croatian culture and community spirit in the Los Angeles port community. Some of you may know Olympic houses are hospitality and cultural venues which are set up by participating countries and host cities during the Olympic Games. They provide gathering places for national teams, fans, and the public to celebrate and experience each nation's culture. And these venues offer a range of activities, including cultural showcases, live event broadcasts, athlete meet and greets, traditional food and merchandise, creating an immersive and festive environment. Now, this MOU between CD15, the 1-5, and the National Olympic Committee of Croatia envisions the Croatia House as a cultural hub during the Olympic and Paralympic Games, inviting the public to participate in activities, cultural exchanges, and community celebrations. This MOU is effective for 4 years and ensures that both parties will work together to establish the Croatia House by 2028. It outlines responsibilities, which each party covering its own costs and allowing flexibility in the project scope. Collaboration may also include personnel exchanges and specialized training in culture and Olympic hospitality, with both parties exploring additional opportunities to enhance cooperation within their capabilities. The signing ceremony in Zagreb symbolizes the international unity and goodwill fostered by the Olympic Games. This agreement embodies a shared commitment to celebrate and strengthen the friendship between the people of Croatia and Los Angeles and all 30,000 of the Croatian descendants who live here in San Pedro. So that is it for my update. If anybody has any questions, I can go ahead and yield the floor.
Okay, I see a couple hands up, so we'll go with Chris first and then Melanie, and then we'll move on to the next presenter.
Hi, Drew. Thanks. You mentioned that Caltrans said that the date for restriping had been pushed back, and then that they were talking about some interim signing and information. So it sounds like that date isn't coming soon. Did they give any indication on when that might happen?
No, they just said that the information would be provided at a later date. For me, that wasn't good enough because the security and safety issues remain with cars not honoring the closed off left turn lane. And so that's why we pushed them today to do more. If they're not going to stripe it soon, then they need to do more to create a better safety situation on the road. I don't have an answer yet of what that will be. I hope tomorrow I'll get something, and as soon as I do, I'll share that with Ray, who can share it with the board.
Thank you.
Melanie?
Yeah, all I wanted to do was thank Drew for being so responsive. When I contacted her about the problem with the stop sign and all, she was right there, came over, looked at it, said, oh my goodness, and took a picture of the trees and on it immediately. And I want to really tell her thank you for being that responsive.
Oh, thank you. Listen, I live in San Pedro. I've been here for 10 years, 10 years in January. I love this community. I'm grateful for my position and being in a spot where I can assist and provide help and liaise with our, city family agencies. So thank you for the accolades, and it's truly an honor to be able to serve the community and help however and whenever I can.
All right. Thank you, Drew. Great, great work. Thank you so much for the updates. That's really great. Let's move on to Jocelyn. Jocelyn, I see your hand up, and if we can move Jocelyn over, and so we can say hello to her.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, Jocelyn.
Hi. Hi, everyone. My name is Jocelyn Dominguez, Community Engagement Manager for Office of Mayor Karen Bass and the area representative for Council District 15. I do have quite a few updates. I apologize, but I love that you guys were talking about the homeless count. I did already fill out my volunteer registration, and I signed up for the San Pedro site. So hoping to, hopefully I see all of you there. So make sure you sign up to volunteer. But before I jump into the updates, I just want to kind of recognize how many of us may still be feeling after last week's election results. And just know that Los Angeles continues to be for everyone, no matter how you choose to worship, love, or what country you come from. Los Angeles remains for everyone. The mayor did go ahead and release a statement yesterday saying that she's actually already spoken to the council president to make sure that we quickly pass the oh my gosh, I already forgot the name, the sanctuary city ordinance. There it is. So the mayor is hoping that we can get that passed before Thanksgiving. I know she spoke with the council president. Hopefully we can get it on the agenda for next week. But just wanted to share that I know a lot of our Angelinos have a lot of questions about what this means in regards to immigration. So we just want to make sure that we pass that ordinance and that we are supportive of our Angelinos. But besides that, last week we also were able to get Jim McDonald, who the mayor selected as the next chief of police. He was confirmed by city council. Thank you, Ray, for coming by to show your support. Really appreciate it. We had a great turnout of community members that came out to support him, and he was able to get confirmed by city council. He will be sworn in tomorrow, I believe, at the academy. So you should be hearing about that soon. But great news there. And then also in regards to the port, we were able to secure a lot of money. I'm trying to look for the amount. Almost, I think like half $500 million, I think it was, close to there, to make sure that we are moving the port forward and meeting our green goals, and making sure that we are improving our air quality for our port community. So huge win there. We all know that climate change is real. I'm very passionate about environmental justice, so this was great news for me to hear. So continuing that effort to make sure that we are protecting our port communities. And then in other news related to the Olympics, so we've actually been doing a lot around the Olympics. A couple weeks ago, we actually had a little summit for the city. So representatives from all the council offices and city departments attended a summit that our office put together. We actually had the French delegation come down to share their experience and what they did to prepare for the Olympics. And people were able to kind of ask questions just to make sure that, we are taking into consideration what they did and how can we implement that here or even do it better. So we had a very successful event. We actually learned that they started planning for their Olympics 10 years in advance. And we all know that we've been doing a lot of planning, especially around public transportation, for quite some time now. But the one thing that really stood out to us as part of the community engagement team is that they actually started registering their volunteers 2 years ahead. And we're already less than 4 years away. So that is something that we are going to be rolling out, that you guys will be hearing from me, because we will need a lot of volunteers. I think the number that was shared was maybe 15,000 volunteers that we're going to need. And we also just want to make sure that we're prioritizing our small businesses. We want to make sure that they are benefiting from the Olympics. So more to come from that. And then in other news, the mayor was down here in the harbor over the weekend. She was able to engage with some of her constituents in Wilmington. Many of you may already know, but she was down in San Pedro a couple months ago during the summer to engage with constituents at Sirens Cafe. So we were able to bring her back down so she could engage in meaningful conversation with our Wilmington residents, and hoping to have many of those gatherings so more constituents from the harbor can connect with our mayor. And then just wanted to also highlight, because we did just have Veterans Day, some of the wins that we had with our veterans. I know it was already talked about when they were going over the homeless count, but the mayor, along with her homelessness task force that lobbies to the White House, or the federal government, I should say, was able to change the law so that veterans' disability status does not play a role in deciding if they will get a housing voucher. So we were able to get that change so that our veterans don't have to choose whether to get their disability benefits or get housing. So that has now been eliminated. We're able to get 3,000 housing vouchers for our veterans here in Los Angeles. We've been quickly working to, or the mayor has been quickly working to get those vouchers in those veterans' hands. I think right now we're up to like 250. We're hoping to get 250 more by January. So just trying to expedite that process as much as possible to make sure that our veterans get housed. And then other than that, I think, actually today, our office, I'm almost done. Today, our office actually held I'm going to call it a housing expo. So we had over 150 affordable housing developers, companies who specialize in innovating housing, general contractors, architects, and city and county leaders all came together to kind of talk about how can we be innovative and constructing more housing, what creative housing models can we use to expedite the construction of housing, but also save some money, because we all know that this is very expensive and we are in a housing crisis. So we had that today, and we were able to engage in meaningful conversations with some of these experts. So more to come from that. But other than that, that is all of my updates. Thank you all.
Okay, thank you very much. I see a hand up from Gwen. Gwen, would you like to ask the question?
Yeah, actually, two different topics you mentioned. Jocelyn, I'm so thrilled about the funding, the federal funding for the ports. Will there be ongoing announcements of any grants for community benefit that will be coming up through that? If you could perhaps give a report of how much the community might be able to use for green type topics, or whatever the benefits are for the community, and just give schedules and things like that. And then also with the Olympics, I hope that there's an equitable amount of funding for Olympic improvements through all CD districts. I hope that Council District 15 will receive improvements, even though we may not be on the same routes for Olympic eventing. It would be beneficial for us to also be able to put in greening or improvements, transportation improvements as well. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for that question. So for the grant related to the port, so actually from that grant, 50 million of it is set aside for, and it's actually going to be led or in partnership with the Harbor Community Benefit Foundation. And that 50 million is going to be invested in prioritizing investments in that benefit the front line of our disadvantaged areas. So what areas of the port communities are most impacted by port activity? That 50 million is going to be going into that community investment. As far as what that rollout or how the community is going to be engaged by that, I think it's still too early. We did just receive the funding, and it's going to be, but it will be in partnership with the Harbor Community Benefit Foundation. They're the ones that kind of led the town halls as well to kind of gather the ideas from the community on how they wanted that money spent. So more to come on that. Related to the Olympics and investment in this area, I mean, I think that conversation is still ongoing. Definitely public transportation is one. I know we have some projects in the area that we're working on. But we're also trying to see how we can get, because you mentioned I don't think we have many games in this area. And honestly, it's not even many in the city of LA, which you want to keep in mind because this is like region wide. But we want to make sure we're looking into how we can get all of our Angelinos to experience the Olympics. So we're thinking about having watch parties in different areas of the city so that folks can get together and enjoy the Olympics. How can we make sure to get tourists and visitors? Because only 30% of the people that will be traveling here will actually have tickets to a game. So how can we get all those visitors to come down to this area and spend some money so our small businesses can benefit? It's definitely something we're looking into as well. But also, what's the kind of programming we can have, or I should say, I'll use investments to get Angelinos even from this area to go to a game or somehow participate or have programming where they can engage with in the Olympics. So we're looking at honestly everything, but more to come on that as well.
Okay. I don't no, I don't see any other hands, but Jocelyn, I'm wondering if perhaps maybe there's an item that I would love for perhaps maybe you to hear, or if you got to get off the line, then give me some time to talk to you about it. And I'll give you a brief preview, and that is the notion of being able to standardize whenever an organization, and in this case, we're talking specifically for the port, standardize a 90-day public review and comment period so that we, as neighborhood councils, have the time to be able to look at the issue and also provide public comment. And because we're Brown Acted, you know, it takes a little bit longer for us to do it, actually more than, you know, if they give us 30 days, it's just impossible for a neighborhood council to participate. If it's even 45 days, that's still not enough time. So anyway, we're going to look at a letter that we can send to the mayor, but specifically in this case to the Port of Los Angeles, so that they can keep that in mind when they're asking us to look at things. In this case, the West Harbor modification project that they just published, they just simply do not give us enough time to do it effectively as I think our community would like us to do it. So anyway.
What item is that on the agenda?
That will be under the agenda item number, let me see, 7D.
Okay. Oh, perfect. Yeah, I can stay on. I'll be on.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Then let's move on. We have two other representatives. One from our SLO, Bologna is here. And then we have Octaviano. So Officer Bologna, are you available, or is there anything you'd like to report out?
There we go. Can you guys hear me now?
Got it. Yes.
Okay, sweet. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a while, so it's a pleasure seeing everybody, even though it's via Zoom, but technology is amazing. First, so what we've kind of been doing, obviously it's the holiday season and it kind of begins in Halloween timeframe. We've been going to awesome community events from the trunk or treats, the harvest festivals, etc. And it's just great. So we've been doing a lot of engagement with communities, the schools, and in the community at large, basically. We got a lot more events coming up. Obviously, you guys know, you guys have been doing this for a very long time, so you guys know that we kind of get a little busy around this time of year. Also, on the other things that we've been doing, and for Northwest San Pedro specifically, Holy Trinity School, the private school, they had an incident in which a child was being bullied, and it kind of turned into an incident of a possible active shooter, possibly, kind of a thing. Some threats were kind of put out there. The school handled it, and then we were asked on the LAPD side to maybe do a anti-bullying presentation. I wanted the parents there, but the presentation was kids only and the staff. But it was very good. We had the Department of Mental Health, LAPD, MEU, and myself. I put a presentation together. And I think that the kids loved it, the staff loved it, and I'm looking forward to doing more presentations like that as well for other schools in the area. Today, we even did a day of dialogue at the Toberman Center with some of the youth, and there was an open dialogue of their feelings of the police and vice versa, where we all can have open dialogue and talk. So we're just kind of getting out there, getting good messages out there. In regards to crime stat, we'll go over for October of 2024 and comparing September to September of 2024. We did not have a change in homicide or robberies. There were 2, and excuse me. In September, there was 0. For aggravated assaults, we had a 30% decrease. So we went from 10 to 7. In burglaries, we had a 50% increase from 6 to 9. And GTAs, which is stolen vehicles, we had a 47% decrease. So from 17 to 9. Burglary theft for motor vehicles, a 33% decrease. So from 18 to 12. Unfortunately, theft, which I'll talk a little bit about that later, we had 81% increase, and that was from 11 to 20, and overall a 4.8% decrease in crime. So a lot of these stuff, let's see, the robberies, one was a Estes robbery, which means it wasn't like a firearm or anything involved. It's more of like running out the door and possibly like a liquor store, like a beer run, and shoving the individual. And let's see, the aggravated assaults, one location was 2. It was domestic related. The domestic related was 4 of them, and 1 known non-domestic related. So that means that they just knew each other and got into some sort of dispute where it escalated to an aggravated assault. The 9 burglaries, I'd like to go over those specifically because obviously our area is kind of affected with property crimes more so. 1 location was hit 4 times, and that was a rental facility. I believe it was a storage facility. We had 5 non-residentials and 4 residentials. 1 domestic related, so that's obviously someone knowing that person and a relationship possibly, and then going to that individual's home and doing that. Again, with the GTAs, where it's the Kias that are the main targets here. So Kias are back on the drawing board for the ones that are getting mostly taken right now. The burglary theft for motor vehicles, one thing that does stand out again, which is I'm seeing a pattern. We had 12 total, but 10 were were unlocked and unsecured vehicles, and 1 was a smashed window. So again, just think of the people going up and down the street and door checking all the cars. They're just finding the easiest targets, which is going to be the unlocked vehicles. And that's the majority of the burglary theft for motor vehicles. The thefts, 1 location was hit 9 times. I'm going to assume that was a target because I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. Let's see here. So that was the crime stats. So again, with the target, it's an ongoing theft problem. We have so many resources going to the target because they're calling every single day. We have our vice and officers on overtime doing operations there and getting about 5 to 6 arrests at a time there. We have our quality of life car also going there, making arrests, multiple arrests a day. On the back end, what the target is doing is working with companies like private security companies, if you will, asset management, to do. They have city attorneys working with them, not city attorneys, excuse me, private attorneys working with them that work with our city attorneys and district attorneys to do kind of their investigative side. And we have our retail theft task force on the law enforcement side. Thankfully, the Prop 36 kind of passed, so hopefully we can see maybe a decrease in more of a difference in the numbers going down based on that. So wait to be seen. But again, I just want to let people know that at Target, there is a lot of LAPD resources going to that Target and their theft problem. Let's see here. 10th and Gaffey. So there is a project that I've opened up at that location. So I work with the business area over there, the business district, from the Baskin Robbins, the San Pedro Library, the Dollar Tree across the street, which was previously the 99-cent store. So property management and owners and the libraries with the city staff there. We've seen out of some of the stuff that we've done since the initiation of the project in April, a 33% decrease in radio calls in that area. Also this weekend, there'll be a food vending task force on Friday and Saturday. And that is the health department, the county health department coming out and either issuing citations and doing their enforcement that they have to do. That's solely the health department. LAPD will be with them, but that is only per our policies, and is to do a civil standby basically with them so that they don't get assaulted or attacked by individuals. Because I've been on one of those, and they get a little hectic where they will follow them around the health department to each location and get people going in the area and turn these groups into rowdy crowds. And so LAPD will be there, but solely as civil standby to make sure that they don't get attacked. Let's see here. So another one is we have the Neighborhood Watch Block Captain meeting on November 20th. It'll be here at Harbor Station, the community room. And we have our guest speaker, which will be Drew Leach. So I appreciate her help and assistance on that. And then also the very next day is the CFAB on the 21st. That will be here at the Harbor Police Station. And like I said earlier, the holiday season is coming up. So we're going to have even more events than what we do have now. And we're getting ready to really engage with the community. And obviously December will be blacked out, be unavailable at that for anything, because we're going to be solely working on events and doing stuff around the station. And then earlier was the stop sign was brought up. So I did speak to Melanie earlier about that today as well. On LAPD side, we'll assist with doing extra enforcement there. I contacted Andy Rowe. I'll contact our day watch traffic car as well and see if patrol can also help with that brand new stop sign that was installed today. And thankfully Drew was able to on her side take care of the tree issue. And that's what I have for the senior lead officer report. Is there any questions?
Okay, we got a hand up from Thomas. Thomas, you'd like to ask a question?
Yeah, it wasn't a question so much as just praise. So thank you, Officer Valoni, on the Holy Trinity School Board. And we just had a meeting, and Principal Anderson praised your work with the students, the staff. I know that was really shook up a lot of families, that incident. And so, you know, your meeting really helped. And then I believe you probably were working with Leon Carroll at Toberman. So just, you know, appreciate the outreach to youth too, to try to build those relationships with the community. Just want to praise you and all the officers that participated in that event today, even though I wasn't able to go this time. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I don't see any other hands up, so let me take advantage of maybe mentioning a couple things. I know it's early, but during the holiday season, Officer Baloney, especially around New Year's, no different than 4th of July, we get so many big, huge fireworks going on, and they just go on and on and on. I'm wondering if, looking at it forward, is there a possibility that we can do something about minimizing these fireworks? We get so many of them, and I hear a lot from people who are pet owners. I've had conversations with the shelter down the street on Gaffey there, that, I mean, it's just horrendous for the animals there, and for people who own pets. So I'm hoping that perhaps maybe there's some maybe planning that we could somehow, and I know it's a tough ask, but minimizing what we get for these holidays where fireworks seems to be the thing of the evenings. So I just want to throw that out there. And if I can just say one last thing, and since we're going to be getting a new chief starting tomorrow, is it possible that we can get a visit from the chief down here in San Pedro or in the harbor community, so that we can introduce ourselves and start establishing that relationship with the chief, you know, as soon as we can? I know he's got a huge agenda in front of him, but it would be nice to kind of get a hello to him and from him, and maybe talk a little bit about what the harbor community is all about. So just want to put that in your mental file there, and maybe we can work on some type of event for both of these.
Yes, of course. Let me, in terms of the fireworks, I'll get with my sergeant and see if he could speak to the captain and see if maybe they could do the vice operations again, in which they were going out and buying the fireworks and arresting the people. and confiscating very large amounts of fireworks. So I'll get with him on that to see what we're doing on that side. In regards to the chief, sure, I'll get with him as well on that and see if we could ask, because I don't see why not. I mean, he's got to make his rounds and do the greetings, so I don't see why he won't be able to come down here and do a face-to-face with everyone. So yeah, I'll definitely bring that one up.
Great, thank you for that. So I think I don't see any other hands up, so thank you so much for being here with us. Really appreciate hearing your voice. Hopefully next month we'll actually see your terrific face and your big smile. Thank you so much for being with us.
Of course. Thank you, everybody, and have a good night, and be safe. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Okay, and now we have, as far as I know, our last person representing the city of Los Angeles, and that is Octaviano. So if Octaviano, if you'd like to say something, can you raise your hand or say hello?
Hear me?
There you go. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Thank you, President Regalado. My name is Octaviano with the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment. I do have a few updates and reminders, so please bear with me. So the Neighborhood Council system is celebrating 25 years this year, and the department is working to plan a nice celebration at City Hall on December 13th in the evening from 6 to 9. And because the beautiful building that we're in, the room that we're hosting it in, is limited in space, it's a first come, first serve in terms of board members interested in attending and celebrating the 25 years of the neighborhood council system. I will be sending a link. You should have received an invitation already to consider attending. I did ask if our guests could bring a date or a partner to attend with them, and unfortunately, only board members can attend. So again, due to the limitations in the space. So that will be held pretty soon, in a few weeks, December 13th from 6 to 9. The department is hosting another youth conference next year in a few months, February 22, on a Saturday from 8 to 4. And I believe last year there was 50 applications accepted, attendees that took advantage of this, and we're increasing it to 100 14 to 17-year-olds from all across the city of Los Angeles. Applications are due December 20th for this February event, and I'll send out the link to this application. That's going to be due again December 20th at 11:59 p.m. And just a quick description, the event will focus on, of course, civic engagement, leadership development, understanding city government, and what the role of the neighborhood council system is in our local democracy. And there will be a few interactive learning sessions, again, focused on community engagement, and an opportunity for all those very smart and active youth to network with each other throughout the day. And I believe they're also planning on inviting some guest speakers. So more to come on that. More administratively, the distribution emails, the forwarding emails that we deactivated, as you know, have now been changed, and only authorized users registered with the department are allowed to use those specific emails to email neighborhood councils. As of probably last 2 weeks, after a few follow-ups, I did confirm that the Port of LA staff, some of the staff, have access to those distribution group emails. So you should start in the near future getting emails again from the Harbor Department. So if you haven't already been getting them. So it took a little bit of time to administratively address this issue on the back end, but that could be cleared up, and we're slowly adding departments. That's my understanding. Keep us posted if you have any issues with that. And with regards to elections, just a reminder, your election day is Tuesday, March 18th. Candidate filing period is coming up November 22nd to January 6th. Vote by mail application period begins January 24 to March 16th. And again, your assigned election administrator is Naima Pulliam. And I'll send you information on their web pages, which has a lot of information on this. Let's see. So Officer Villoni mentioned, I think Jocelyn or Drew mentioned also the chief's appointment. Just wanted to highlight that even though the city council did confirm last week the chief's appointments, you can still file a community impact statement if you're interested. The council files 24-1194. It's just a great opportunity to let your board's position be known as to what your priorities are, or just make a simple statement of support. But unfortunately, only 2 neighborhood councils have filed a community impact statement. So we could have done a little bit more pushing to promote that opportunity, but needless to say, it's still an opportunity, and have it there recorded with city clerk's office as a community impact statement. And Jocelyn mentions just a huge endeavor here to prepare for the 2028 Olympics. Neighborhood councils are being exclusively invited to an online information session hosted by the mayor's office. And that's to learn about the plans and preparations of the Olympic and Paralympic Games across the city. And I believe the Deputy Mayor of International Affairs will be there to answer questions and give information if that hasn't changed. But that's Thursday, December 5th. So that's coming up pretty quick from 6 to 7. And again, that's via Zoom. And I'll send a link to that. And I believe that's it. I thought my report was longer, but there you go. And happy holidays, folks. I probably won't see you for Thanksgiving or around those times. So happy Thanksgiving. And I guess we'll swear in Alonzo Jenkins at the next meeting, maybe.
We'll keep our fingers crossed.
Well, let me know what I can do if I can reach out to him and help out in any way I can.
That's great. Thank you for that. So I think I heard you say that was your report. I don't know if we have any hands or questions, comments. I don't see any, but I do have a quick item here. The election training was tonight, the same night as our neighborhood council. So I'm wondering if there's any way that we can get some type of information regarding the election for the election training.
Thank you for that, Ray. For some reason, I had that on my notes and it disappeared. But yes, so Michael Lecterich, who's one of the managers in the neighborhood council elections division for the city clerk's office, did mention today that that he was aware of the conflict and that you had a special meeting tonight, the same night that they were going to have their information session just for the Region 12. If you're interested, he's offering to send over the recording of the session that also started at 6. But he's also available to review what his team reviewed tonight with the board. How that looks like, or if it's just with the committee or just or at a full board meeting, maybe that's something that your point board members can kind of identify what their preference is and discuss that with Michael. But he did offer that, so I just wanted to make that note.
Great, thank you for that.
Mhm.
Well, it looks like we have one hand up. Melanie?
Right, you didn't see the email thread regarding Michael?
Yes,
And-
but I wanted to make sure that everyone heard the information. That was the
Oh, okay.
purpose of the question. Thank you.
Alrighty.
Okay, I'm not sure that there is any more hands up. I'm not sure that I don't recognize anyone else's need to talk to us from a city or elected position. So we're going to go ahead and close out this agenda item number 5. Thank you so much to all of you for being here. Really appreciate it. And we will move on to our consent calendar, agenda item number 6. And we have 3 items, 2 of which had to do with our anticipated youth representative who is not here. Unless again, I've missed his name here, but I've checked a few times and I haven't seen it. So Alonzo, if you're here, want to raise a hand? And I do not see a hand raised or the name appearing on the attendees list. So I'm going to ask that we remove those 2 items from the agenda. We'll take them up when we actually appoint Alonzo. And that leaves us with 1 item, and that's the approval of the October 16th minutes. So can I get a motion? What, I see a hand up. Victor, do you have a hand up? Is this something we need to do, or?
Yes, it's not required to be on the board, to be on a committee. So do we still want to remove those 2?
I do, because I want to hear it. I mean, he was supposed to be here today for, to be sworn in. So I would prefer it happening when he's here. So.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify.
That's right. Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you.
I move to remove items B and C from agenda item 6.
Okay.
I second.
All right. Any discussion for those 2? I see no hands. Can we take a vote for removing those 2 items, and then we'll move on to the minutes?
Okay, that was first by Valle and second by Lebrec.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay, I wanted to make sure I got the names right. Okay, to remove B and C, Vic Christensen, aye. John DeMiglio,
Yes.
Larry Eaton,
Yes.
Craig Goldfarb,
I don't know why we're removing. All you have to do is say remove it and you don't have to vote on it. I don't know why we're voting on it.
So can we go ahead and take your vote, or are you abstaining?
I'm not, we're voting on something that all you have to say is remove it and it gets removed. If you want to table it, that's a whole different matter. But you're trying to remove something that you already have the power to remove. I already removed
understand
it.
that, but there was a motion, so we might as well just go by the formality, Craig. So yes or no?
Then I'm abstaining.
Okay.
Because it's
abstain.
ridiculous.
Move on.
Gwen Henry,
You learn that.
Yes.
Melanie Lebrec,
Yes.
Kelly Miller,
Yes.
Thomas Norman,
Yes.
Ray Regalado, Ray,
Yes. Yeah, I did. I thought I answered you already. Yes.
I didn't hear it. Michael Signorelli,
Yes.
Angela Sumner,
Yes.
Chris Valle.
Yes.
Okay, that's I believe 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, 11 ayes, 1 abstention.
Mhm.
And for the record, Abby Norman dropped off about 6:30.
All right. Thank you. So now, can I get a motion for the approval of the minutes?
So moved.
Second, Thomas Norman.
Any discussion? I see no hands. Can we take a vote count?
Okay, for 6A, Vic Christensen, aye. John DeMiglio,
Yes.
Larry Eaton,
Yes.
Greg Goldfarb,
Abstain.
Gwen Henry,
Yes.
Melanie LeBrecq,
Yes.
Kelly Miller,
Yes.
Thomas Norman,
Yes.
Ray Regalado,
Yes.
Michael Signorelli,
Yes.
Angela Sumner,
Yes.
Chris Valle.
Yes.
Okay, same, 11 ayes, 1 abstention.
All right. Okay, so that takes care of agenda item number 6. Let's do number 7, and these are the motions. So let's start off with item A, budget and finance. Melanie, it's all yours. Melanie?
Cheryl, do you want to pull up the budget and finance stuff?
Give me a minute.
Okay, so the first item is the MER. This is not out of committee because it wasn't available yet. So we have $30,657.44 available. So do I have anybody to move this?
So moved, Gwen.
A second.
Okay. Chris, second. Any discussion? Okay, so call for the vote. Thomas,
Aye.
Vic,
Aye.
Ray.
Yes.
Ray is not eligible because one of his trainings is out of date.
Oh, okay.
I did something, but okay. I thought that was taken care of already.
John DeMiglio,
Yes.
Larry,
Yes.
Craig,
Abstain.
Gwen,
Yes.
Melanie, yes. Kelly,
Yes.
Angela. Angela,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Michael.
Yeah.
Okay. So next is the budget. Cheryl. Okay, and here's the budget. And we have 30,657.44. There is 10,460.53 in unallocated funds. So this is out of committee. Any discussion? Okay, call for the vote. Thomas,
Aye.
Victor,
Aye.
John DeMiglio,
Yes.
Larry,
Yes.
Craig,
Abstain.
Gwen,
Yes.
Melanie, yes. Kelly,
Yes.
Angela,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
and Michael.
Yeah.
Okay, next is the CD15 lighting. Okay, this is for the CD15 Christmas tree lighting for us to table and sponsor. It's $1,000. This is out of committee. Any discussion? Okay, call for the vote. Thomas,
Aye.
Victor,
Aye.
John DeMaglio,
Yes.
Larry,
Yes.
Craig,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
Melanie, yes. Kelly,
Yes.
Angela,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
and Michael.
Yeah.
Okay, next is public safety signs. Okay, this is a motion to allocate an amount, $500, for signs, the graphics to be brought to the board and created once they're created for approval to use the money. But this is to set aside $500 for public safety signs that can go out on lawns of stakeholders in major areas to get people to slow down. Have our neighborhood council name on it and all, logo. So this is out of committee. Any discussion? Gwen?
Would just like to know that you're or at least explain the 3 different levels of sign distributions, and how we would possibly have them distributed throughout the community.
Craig?
Okay. Question.
Mhm.
Did you look at the ones we'd already done?
Yes, this is the one that they've done. Cheryl, there's another one that's a larger thing.
Are you talking, these are the slow down San Pedro ones that we had
Yes,
before?
for the ones way back. I pulled this out of the office. This
I'm
is
sorry, I
the one.
only have, oh, no, here's another one. Let me see.
This is the large one. It's two-sided.
Hold on. This may be the same one again. Give me a sec. Oh, here we go.
There you go. This was what was in the office. One of them was in the office from previous ones that have been done. And this is
This
what we're
other
taking.
one, it said slow down San Pedro.
Yeah, we didn't have copies. I read that there was something like that, but this is the only one that I had a copy of. And we are not going to duplicate this. We have to design one, but this is to allocate the money. We have to create a design and bring it back to the board of what
So we will
want to
see a design before we approve it?
Yes. Before you approve it, we
Okay.
just
And what are, I mean, you show one size, but you show 3 prices.
right. That's the amount of money. Cheryl, can you go back to the other one? This is one size. That's the size we want to do. And this is the different prices for the amount that we make. It's 50 of them for $425, 25 of them are $337.50, 10 of them are for $140. So we're going to check another vendor also for the pricing, but this is what we were quoted from priority one. But we want to allocate
thank you.
$500. Okay. So
Okay.
any more questions? Call for the vote. Thomas,
Aye.
Victor,
Aye.
John DeMeglio,
Yes.
Larry,
Yes.
Craig,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
Melanie, yes, Kelly,
Yes.
Angela,
Yeah.
Chris,
Yes.
and Michael.
Yes.
Okay. So next item is the Gary De La Rosa invoice. It'll be the next page. This is just the front cover sheet. There it is. Okay, this is from Gary De La Rosa, who did our facilitating for our retreat. He's asking to be paid for his services for that day, which I think we owe him. It's $350 for 5 hours. This is out of committee. Any discussion? That being said,
I have my
Thomas,
hand raised.
You've got a hand up.
got a hand up? Oh, okay, sorry. Oh, Chris.
Yes, was it understood that before we secured a services that it was going to be paid? Or did you request after the fact?
No, it was understood.
Okay.
It was
just clarify.
understood.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, call for the vote. Thomas,
Aye.
Victor,
Aye.
John DeMeglio.
No.
No? Larry
No.
Eaton.
Yes.
Craig,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
Melanie, yes. Kelly,
Yes.
Angela,
Yes.
Chris Vallier.
Yes.
What?
Yes.
Chris, I did. Okay. And Michael,
Yes.
did you say no?
Yes.
Huh?
No, I said yes.
Yes? Okay, I couldn't hear you. I'm sorry. Okay, that's it for budget and finance.
Okay, let's go ahead and move on to item B, public safety. Melanie?
Okay. Cheryl, you want to bring up the letter? Okay, so you all, this letter's been uploaded. You should have had a chance to read it. It's 3 pages. There's pictures that are included in it, an attachment. But in a nutshell, without reading this, there's just been a lot of ongoing problems with permitting in all the parks in San Pedro. There's been a problem with no rangers, no one to follow through. A ranger comes on Wednesdays and that's it. There's been an kill of things like at Harbor Highlands where they're like over the top excessive things that they're permitting isn't allowed in any park, like horses and trains and merry-go-rounds and things that they aren't supposed to do. Drinking is going on at the parks with excessive drinking. And so we want them to clearly understand what's going on and start this conversation about what's equitable. Why is Harbor area removed of their park rangers? Why is this? And we need to start a conversation as to what we're going to do to fix this. And we've proposed some remedies here too that we'd like, and things like the gates that we've asked for in Harbor Highlands, and just a little bit more oversight from Rec and Parks with our parks. So this is out of committee. Any discussion? John?
Now we need to close the bathrooms.
Huh?
We need to
Well,
close the
unfortunately, we're
bathrooms.
stuck with those darn things and with all
We
the
need to
parties
close
that
the
we have here.
bathroom. It's been a problem since we had them. Drug overdose, people dying, park filled with drinking, everything. It needs to be closed. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, we call for the vote. See, Thomas,
Yes.
Victor,
Aye.
John DeMiglo.
Abstain.
Okay, Larry,
Yes.
Craig,
Abstain.
Gwen,
Yes.
Melanie, yes. Kelly?
Yeah.
Angela?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Okay,
You missed one.
next item. Huh? Oh. Who'd I miss?
Ray.
Oh, does he get a vote on this? Is it just finance that he
It's
can't?
it's not budget and finance.
Oh,
It's not a
okay.
fu-
I
It's
wasn't
not a
sure.
funding matter.
Ray? Ray?
Yes. Did you hear? Yes.
Yes. Yes.
All right.
Okay, Angela, do you have a question?
It's unrelated. I just wanted to let you know because I had talked to Vic earlier about a conflict and I need to sign out right now. So I just wanted to let you guys know for the minute.
All righty.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so the next item is the CIS. Cheryl. Okay, and this motion is out of committee. And what this motion does is it will remove parking enforcement. It's a assembly bill that the city council is strongly opposing for LA because what would happen is it would remove all parking enforcement of any vehicles, including RVs. So anybody could be anywhere and you could have vehicles long-term and you couldn't remove them if this were to pass. And so our city council of LA is opposing it. And so this CIS is supporting LA City Council opposing it. So we agree the members of Park and Lee, who are the sponsors in city council of the opposition to this. And we just support them because it would be a public safety problem if this did pass. So this is out of committee. Any discussion? Okay, so call for the vote. Thomas?
Aye.
Hang on.
Question.
Oh.
I raised my hand and it took a bit
Okay.
for it to come up. Sorry. But I do have a question as far as, is there a plan someplace with this council file to address the issue of how we do impact those people living in these areas? Are they being
here's
given
the
opportunities to relocate, get them in shelter, get them in permanent or?
resolution. Here's the resolution.
It's a little bit too small for my eyes to see. There we go.
So there are existing programs like Inside Safe is a big one. I actually worked at an event recently where this wasn't specific for parked vehicles, but people basically are given the opportunity to abandon their encampments and most of their belongings and receive services like on the spot and be transported to shelters. And it's usually targeted. And I think this would fall under the umbrella of services like that. But again, those would probably be directed to like established, like if a car or an RV is in one location, that's less likely than a place that kind of become a known issue. But the resources are available, and I suppose then coordination would have to happen between the people designating these, like basically the parking aspect of it would have to be coordinated with the service providers.
Right. Okay, does that answer, Ray?
Well, it actually, it doesn't answer, I kind of feel that what Chris had mentioned, I think that's kind of just what the city is doing, but it would be nice that it would say something like that here so that we know that it's.
What my understanding is public safety, where Tim McCoster is involved with, is going to be taking up the next step in this.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks. So, Vic?
Aye.
Ray?
Yes.
John DiMaglio?
That's not clear enough for me. I'm going to abstain.
Abstain? Okay, Larry?
Yes.
Craig?
Abstain.
Gwen?
Yes.
Melanie, yes. Kelly?
Yes.
Angela is out. And Chris?
Yes.
And Michael?
Yes.
Alrighty. So that is it.
Okay, we'll move on to the next item, and that's the Port Environmental and Sustainability Committee. Thomas Norman.
All right, this is not out of committee as we didn't have a quorum. So I did attend 2 meetings by this group. I understand there's 2, possibly 3 groups bidding on the Outer Harbor project. This group, I did discuss with Port Committee members, this proposal and wrote a letter kind of according to what myself, and there were some members from Coastal and Central attending these meetings, what I thought best represented Northwest's opinion in how this particular group, the LA Cruise Alliance, was seeking to get community input to make the project more suitable. Who is the LA Cruise Alliance? If you don't know, it consists of the largest cruise companies, Carnival, Royal Caribbean Group, and MSC Cruises. The reason that I did want to escalate this and created extra work for some of the board members and staff apologizes. The decision really is needed on the 5th. So the fact that my committee couldn't get a quorum, really hampered the ability for us to respond in a timely way should we want to do so. So that's the other thing I asked for them to share were some of the slides. These companies are competing and they don't want their competitors necessarily to have all the information or all the details and the numbers on that. That's going to be for the harbor commissioners. But if we're considering a letter of support, here are some of the details I could share with those of you that weren't at these meetings and just for the public watching what we're talking about. So they would be developing both the existing cruise area, the inner harbor site, and then the new outer harbor site, which you can see on this slide. If you want to look at more details, the website I was just showing you is lacruisealliance.com on the top of this presentation. Some of the things that they wanted to make sure and that they heard in these community outreach sessions, which included Alta Sea, the people running the Battleship Iowa, chamber, and several other community groups, was that this should not just be a place for people to come into our town, park, go on the cruise and leave. We wanted some facilities when the boats are not in town, which is often 5 days a week, people in the surrounding areas could use. So it should be flexible, attractive, and functional. It should fit, the community. It should look good. It should be an asset, not an eyesore. I was the one thinking of our group and demand for parking, that there will be parking in this new area, and they even are committing to, and they put it on I did ask them to put it on there on this slide, free. They actually want to make some parking. They didn't say necessarily be all day, or you can, park there for a month, but they, would have an hour, 2 hour free parking as part of their plan. It's definitely going to be environmentally friendly, clean, resilient, sustainable, definitely creates jobs. And would help us, get things we might feel we need, like a new hotel. Here's some pictures on, how they envision it. This is a group that did a project in San Francisco. Looking at those pictures, was very impressed. You might ask, how could the public use the space in Outer Harbor? You have to have fences, a lot of security to protect the boat. Well, what they're doing in San Francisco at that pier is they have a fence that goes up and down. So once the boat is gone, there's no federal regulations prohibiting the public from accessing the space, the green space that they envision. So look at these things as not just for the people going on the cruise terminals, but those who want to visit these different locations. And they do have experience with at least 3 cities trying to develop kind of more city-friendly port experiences. And then the last slide is a little bit of how they envision and the proposal they're going to put before the Board of Harbor Commissioners on the existing space. So the main port area you see circled there, they'll have retail open space in the middle, and then they really want to work with the existing museums and the surrounding community for a hotel and parking space that really draws folks coming into the community to stay in the community, eat at our restaurants, walk around town, and take advantage of all the things that we enjoy as locals. So just wanted to share that with you as some perspective before we get to the letter, which I'll stop sharing it and let the person who's probably better at sharing than I am share the letter I'd like for us to consider and perhaps vote on tonight. And the letter was in the packet, so hopefully you've read it and given it some consideration.
Cheryl, could you zoom in, please? Thank you.
They did provide a template letter. I took a little bit of language at the end, but really thought, based on conversation I've had with stakeholders, want to reflect what I felt we saw versus what they wanted us to say, which I think is in their interest too. I don't think the board will be very impressed with 8 letters that seem the same from a neighborhood council, another group.
I see 3 hands raised.
Gwen?
So this is one of the proposals. You say there are 2 other entities who have their own proposals, but this is the one that has the strongest support. And why?
Well, we don't know for sure who's going to submit. What I've heard from port folks is they understand 3 are interested and have contacted them. All of them have been encouraged to reach out to neighborhood councils in the chamber. Only one has done so and has actually had probably 10 meetings with different stakeholder groups. So we don't know what the other proposals are. So I wouldn't recommend we endorse a group if we don't know what they're proposing. What I've seen, looks like it would be an improvement. So I think it merits support. Doesn't mean we couldn't support another group should they choose to share what they're doing with us, but they haven't done so at this time. And Craig?
So you move this. Did you get a second?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, with the process,
I mean, we're discussing without motions
no, thanks for
being
keeping me
made.
in
So
line. thanks for keeping me in line. I presented it. So is there a motion from somebody on the board?
So moved, Gwen.
I so move.
And then is Gwen a second for the minutes?
I think so, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. I got tired and I had 8 hours of meetings before this one. So thank you, Craig. Ray?
Yeah, I just kind of want to echo what you said. This has been the group that has advocated for the opportunity to develop the outer harbor, and they're the only ones, as you have mentioned. I'd like to just highlight, has actually done any kind of outreach to community. And some of the meetings that I have had the opportunity to sit in on also, what I think is probably one of the stronger points of this thing is that once if we have ships in the current cruise configuration, that area is completely out of bounds for everybody. What is really great about this one, as I understand it, is that there is the opportunity that people can use the space as just spending more time green spaces out there, so that we can enjoy the waterfront if you're just going to look at it. So these people have been really taking the opportunity to speak to groups, speak to individuals, and so on. So I'd like to just provide a level of support for what you have just said, Thomas.
Thank you. John?
Yeah, that cruise ship terminal has been in play for a long time and really hasn't taken off yet. It's taken so long just to redo ports of call and try to get restaurants and stuff in there. Right now, I think all they have to do is put that cruise ship in play and then see what happens after that. We need a new cruise ship terminal. The businesses right now, even the businesses on 6th and 7th Street aren't doing too good. So how are you gonna populate this area with people and keep these businesses in business? I don't get it. But the cruise ship is a big, huge business, and that needs to happen. That's all I can say.
Yeah, one thing I remember from the presentation, this group of the cruise ships, they understand the bidding process. It's done by people at the port are going to evaluate it. I don't know who those people are, and it's probably 80% financial, like how much money they're going to raise for the port versus how much the community likes it. Maybe it's even 90%. It's really high. But because there's no middle person, the other two are just cruise operators that'll pass the costs on to their cruise companies. They think they can be effective. So the city does well. And they did have raised $1 billion. So they want to be very honest. They didn't know if they actually didn't think, I think the third one would end up submitting because it's going to cost $1 billion of capital, which they have ready because they know the additional business of bringing in these bigger ships is good for them. And so they're willing to build the retail, build it out in this way. If the restaurants and such in there, can't make it, they can't make it, but at least it'll be an opportunity. But I think that is a good question, right? It does seem like they have the capital raised. Now, you never know. There could be a financial crisis in 3 months by the time this goes through, but it did seem like they were ready to go and they had a very strong financial interest to move forward. Craig.
Okay, so we had a brief discussion the other day when I was going over some other stuff with you. One was, I've known about that they wanted to expand the cruise terminals, but I didn't know there was an active process going on. And I'm assuming that a lot of the board didn't either, and a lot of the board didn't get invited to any of these things because after we talked, that I hope they invited other board members and stuff like that, and I didn't see it. So that concerns me. We want to have time to comment on this stuff, but it was, we also want to be included in the process as board members, not just specific people. That was one. The other, and one of the reasons why I'm saying this is these are times when it's a good idea to be able to ask for certain things, like you were doing with the parking. I'm a little surprised at these new things that are coming in because they lack the community partnership that I've seen in other projects. When I was growing up in Gardena, the card clubs used to do things for the citizens of Gardena. And in fact, Hollywood Park would do things for the community also. But I'm seeing a lot of these projects come in, and the community benefit they think is, oh, we're going to build this nice new thing and that's it. So, I mean, I think instead of saying, oh, the port needs to do this, we need to go to these people and say, hey, what is our community benefit? What are you going to do for the community? I mean, the parking's nice. I mean, I would like to see more. I'd like to see them, have events that include the community. And I think that's something that the board needs to think about, and we as the port committee need to think about, because all these projects tend to get this short time frame, and it'd be a good idea if we all sat down and thought, what is our ask? What would we like to see done for our community? Thank you.
That's a good point. John.
Yeah, like I said, they started with Disney Cruises, wanted to take that outer harbor, and that didn't really materialize. And that's a good sized piece of land there. I would like to see a swap for the outer harbor and the inner harbor. Give the inner harbor to the people to have access to, and the outer harbor, keep it as the new cruise ship terminal. I think this needs to be discussed by the community and our neighborhood councils. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a good point. All right. Anyone else? All right, I guess at this point we call the vote. Oh, no, Gwen?
Sorry, yeah, I was just wondering, is there another round of stakeholder comment out there? If some of our own board members feel that there should be some time for a comment, is there another round?
Not that I'm aware of, but if people were interested, and the port committee, I believe I sent the documents out, and we've got the website, and I can give the email of the woman driving the project, and we could ask for one. I would like to see if that person can come to our port committee meeting next week, so I'll have that invitation. But I think because the proposals due before the stakeholder meeting occurs, right? If it's due right away in December, it might be moot, right? We can't just take a committee recommendation because we don't have the whole board. But they definitely will take that as an action to invite them to our meeting on Tuesday. And hope we have people there for them to come. So please come if we're going to do this.
Tuesday. Thank you.
All right. So for this group, Mr. President, do I call the vote, or is there someone else who's supposed to do the vote?
Vic, Vic, if you can do the vote.
Thanks, Vic.
Okay, Vic Christensen, aye. John DeMiglio.
No.
Say that again.
No.
Larry Eaton.
Yes.
Greg Goldfarb.
Yes.
Gwen Henry.
Yes.
Melanie LeBrecq.
Yes.
Kelly Miller.
Yes.
Thomas Norman.
Yes.
Ray Regalado.
Yes.
Michael Signorelli.
Yeah.
Chris Valle.
Yes.
Okay, 10 ayes, 1 no.
Okay, we'll move on to the next item under this, and this is, I kind of previewed it. This is the executive committee, and this is a request. Do we have a letter up? This is a letter that I'd like to get over to the Port of Los Angeles, that when they come to communities to ask for public comment or public review and public comment, that they standardize a 90-day public review and comment period. It's something that we really need as neighborhood councils, as I think I mentioned earlier, where in most cases, when they're looking for public comment, they give a 30-day time frame, and in 30 days, it's impossible for a neighborhood council to process any kind of comment period that they're looking for. And sometimes the port, in this case, for one of the ones that are out there right now, they're giving 45 days. But even in 45 days, it is not really available to us to be able to bring it before the community, bring it before the board, and give support or comment or whatever it might be. So I'm just want to ask that the Port of Los Angeles standardize a 90-day public review and comment period, and this is the letter. It will also be taken and CC'd to the mayor's office, council member McCosker, and members of the port hierarchy, going directly to Gene Soroka. So in thumbnail sketch, that's what we're asking for. It's really something that they can do. We just have to help them understand the importance of doing it for the neighborhood council system. I've had conversations with other neighborhood councils in the area, and they also agree that it's something that that should happen.
A first
So with
and
that,
second.
so it's out of committee.
No. No, it's not.
Oh, never mind. No, I was reading the wrong one. It is not.
Which is
out of
why I
committee.
have my hand up, because we haven't moved it to discuss it yet. So I move to approve the letter.
So moved.
Was that a second?
I think so.
That was Gwen, second.
So with that, any discussion? Victor, your hand is up.
No, it's
Okay,
not.
that was from before. It was until you took it off. So I see Chris and Mr. Norman. Chris?
Yeah, just briefly, it makes perfect sense. It's their timetable, their calendar, their pace doesn't move as quickly as they would like us to move. I think it's more convenient for them to give us a 30-day response period, but they plan things on the order of months and years at the very minimum. So it's a fair ask, and I think they should be able to that.
Thomas?
And I also wanted to speak in strong support of this as somebody who's had to contact the president asking every time for more time. If you think of the neighborhood council process, the bind I just found myself in, you need, 1 month for the committee meeting we need some time to talk to stakeholders to actually do a representative job. And then we need to come back, engage with more stakeholders for this meeting. That's a minimum of 60 days, but there could be a meeting that doesn't work. Something could go dark. So I think this request makes perfect sense. At the bare minimum, there should be a 75-day minimum, but I think we should just ask for 90. They take years, as Chris mentioned. They could give us a few months to do our work properly and engage the public if they truly care.
Thank you. Any other comments? I see no other hands up. So with that, can we take a vote count? Victor?
Vic Christensen, aye. John DeMiglio.
Yeah.
Larry Eden.
Yes.
Craig Goldfarb.
Yes.
Gwen Henry.
Yes.
Melanie Albrecht,
Yes.
Kelly Miller,
Yes.
Thomas Norman,
Yes.
Ray Regalado,
Yes.
Michael Signorelli,
Yes.
Chris Valle.
Yes.
It's unanimous, 11 ayes.
Thank you. So this will be formalized in letterhead and sent to the individuals and agencies listed. And Jocelyn, thank you for hanging out, and because this is something that we feel is really important, and hopefully we'll gain the support of the mayor on this to help the port with this very easy ask, should they choose. Thank you. So this brings us to the end of agenda item number 7. We're going to move on to 8, and that is the president's meeting with the port. Mr. Norman.
Thank you. Well, I've got a few documents to share here. It was a pretty productive, long meeting. You can kind of see, I'll just highlight the air emissions community investment grant update and go really fast in Wilmington, seeing that's not really in our area. So air emissions, there's some great news on air emissions in terms of how from 2005 when they started working on this to today. You see the greenhouse gases are down 24%, nitrous oxide, huge success, down 74, sulfur oxide down 98%, diesel particulate matter down a lot. And this is in spite of increased shipping, right? 15% TEUs are up. And so I'll go through all the details unless people have questions. The area that's being monitored, if you want to get a sense of where the sensors are, this is the area. Had good success in the ocean as well as that South Coast Air Basin. And I thought this was an interesting chart to look at, just the reduction. You did see the blip we lived through. I actually don't really remember what it was like in 2005, but I do remember the blip up in 2021. So you can see how diesel's getting better. The NOx, trend of the emissions and what's driving it. Well, I'm super excited if our mayor's office representative is here, that $500 million, $500 million is going to make a huge difference for us to continue driving healthier air in our communities. So we'll be able to do more with the clean truck programs, alternate, maritime power and shore power, just the, a lot of the concerns truckers, have about converting. I hope that money gets, put into continue to reduce the amounts you see here. This slide was a little bit interesting in terms of the contributions, how much the on-road pollution, right? Fixing the port doesn't fix all the issues, some of the pollution's from other sources. So again, I wanted to put these in the agenda. I'm not sure if they got in there or not, but if people want copies of this presentation, I'm happy to share. Interest of time, I'll move over to the community investment grants. So I think there's some interesting history on this one, and I'll blow it up a little bit. This is a program that's been in place since 2013-14. We can all thank our council member for not making this just a one-time thing, but a permanent source of funding. So you'll see, or I guess it's a PIP program, probably is helpful in this grant program. So just to go back, this is the community investment grant program I'm speaking of. The number of applications received, is at a pretty good number of 65 last year. They gave 36 awards. So 64% of the applicants were happy. And if you look then at the funding, it was 3.3 million. So if you know of organizations, nonprofits who have a program, the main thing for them to focus is on the nexus to the port. Now it's going to help the community. We're probably aware that the Boys and Girls Club have been typical perennial recipients. International Seafarers have done well. This EXP program got a pretty big award as the LA Maritime Institute, where I believe we're having our holiday party. If you want to look at this report, you can go through and see exactly who got money and how much money they got, ranging from Avalon Arts and Culture all the way down to the Wilmington YMCA getting $15,000. you know, it is exciting to see what they're doing in Wilmington. I'll only quickly go through how beautiful this looks because we should be advocating for great things in San Pedro. They've done a lot with the Wilmington waterfront park, and they have, you know, several, you know, 30 acres here, 10 acres there of improvements. So when they take the PIP and then that money for these projects, they really could do wonderful things like the promenade, which if you haven't visited, you really should, to get a sense of what we could be doing. You know, I'm thinking of John's comment, you know, in terms of let's get some things going for San Pedro that are going to make our community better. So those were the highlights. It was kind of a long meeting. I think we're probably going to go dark. You know, as we get to the holidays, they have a philosophy of not wanting to meet if there's nothing to talk about. And I'll stop there and take questions. Craig.
I wanted to point out whenever they show us those things about how they worked on pollution, the problem is they're trying to show us a 20-year timeline, and you know it's bogus. Oh, we decreased it 98%. Their decrease in the last 5 to 10 years has been minuscule, and that's where we should be at. So that they give us this thing and say, "Oh, look how well we did." They haven't been doing well lately in a long time. If you look at that thing in the last 10 years, it's been pretty stable. So, you know, I think that's one of the things that we all need to look at and start talking about is, you know, why are we still playing with the smoke and mirrors? Why are they giving us this? The truth is, we have a pollution problem. It's from the port. Their recent moves have been slow and inadequate. So, you know, this is where we should be taking it. I've seen that same, you know, optic how many times? And my complaint has always been the same thing. You know, we're not getting a significant decrease in current pollution. That they decreased it that much before, most of that happened in the first 5 years. You know, in the last 15 years, that it has slowed down, and now it's nothing. So my point.
Good point, Chris.
Yeah, like as Craig pointed out, there's that steep drop off kind of at the beginning of that chart, and those are including the years when they first basically banned the dirtiest trucks from entering the port complex, and the initiatives like onshore power and the reduced speed in the approach as the ships approach. That's when those things were first put in place, and that's when you had that more noticeable decline. And then recently, you know, and then a lot of these things in terms of clean handling equipment, things like that, whether it's the trucks or cranes and things inside the terminals, is kind of at the discretion of the terminal operators, and so those have slowed down. And the incentives are, you know, eventual, but they're, you know, as it gets cleaner, the amount of change over year to year is going to decrease. But I think that there should be a significant drop, not as much as the initial tip, but with the push towards on-dock rail and the increasing, the continuous replacement of older equipment with newer stuff, like the, you know, whether they're electric or natural gas powered RTGs and things like that, there will be continual decrease, but I don't think we should expect to see is a big shift in the curve the way that this graph illustrates. But again, things like the expansion of rail and just generally cleaner stuff will hopefully, you know, we'll see that improve. But that's going to come down more, I think, to the shipping lines as they replace vessels and as the terminal operators replace equipment.
Yeah, no, those are good points. You know, it's hopefully $500 million can actually provide the money, and we could get input on where to put it to get that pollution down. John.
Yeah, you know, I've been in this harbor for 42 years. I've been working this harbor. I lived in the harbor. on tugboats for 10 years out of my life living in the harbor, right dead center of this harbor. There's been a lot of improvements, a lot, more than I ever thought would happen. And it's not rapid, it's not quick, but it's happening. It's happening all over. As far as the tugboats go, the longshoremen, the equipment is being replaced significantly. A lot of replacements on these electric powered top handler drivers and the cranes. Everything's it's changing for the volume of the work out here and everything. I see a big difference from when I started in 1983. So it ain't gonna come right away, but it's coming. It's changing. That's my perspective on that.
It's great to hear from somebody who actually, spends the time down there. So I don't have that perspective. I think that's really valuable, John. The thing that I didn't get slides for, but I'm remembering, I think the stakeholders will care about. I'm very disappointed how the state didn't coordinate the bridge project with the work Lonnie Walsh, one of their engineers, is doing on an on-ramp, which will shut the bridge down for 3 months. And it looks like because our entities are not coordinating, right, we're going to have an extra 3 months of not being able to go on the bridge. And then there was discussion of just how awful this is going to be for Anaheim, and looking at how disruptive traffic was. You remember the truck fire, right? The bridge being closed is going to be like a truck fire every day. So when McCosker was talking about Harborgeddon, no, I advocate there and express extreme disappointment. And the port says, this isn't their fault, but I still find it hard to believe you can't change your plans to minimize some of the downtime when it comes to construction project. But I'm not a civil engineer. Gwen?
With that in mind, just driving down Lomita Avenue, I've noticed a tremendous increase in truck traffic just on that area to create they're taking a shortcut on Lomita to get on the 110 freeway. This is going to be very impactful. I mean, I don't know. And this was just during a redirect this week, a flight reroute. And I hope that there's still ability to have continued feedback, and because I have a feeling that we're going to have to continue to discuss these things as soon as the shutdown happens, and tell them this is they've got to improve this and that and such. I hope we have a lot of opportunity for additional feedback in live time as well. Thank you.
John.
Yeah, they need to focus right now on alternative routes to get around this stuff. And it doesn't seem like it's happening. The main road going through all the way to Anaheim Street or whatever it is, that road has been messed up for a long time, and it should be improved before any of the other stuff starts. It's going to be a disaster. I don't see any other way. It's just going to be, work is picked up in the harbor. It's just gonna. I don't see where it's just gonna be a total disaster, I think. I'm glad I'm retired. I'm gonna be retiring pretty soon because I don't want any part of it. So, it needs more discussion, and it needs to ensure the people that they're gonna actually give us information on what's going on. More information. The more information, the better. That's all I can say.
So that concludes my report. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thomas, and I have a couple things I'm gonna say during the executive report if about the bridge closure as we know it today. So let's go ahead and move on to committee reports. And we'll go down the line, budget and finance, anything?
Nope. Nothing. No budget advocate either.
Okay. Public safety?
Cheryl, do you have my minutes on there? I can probably pull them up in front of me, I think. They as far as public safety goes, we're next meeting, we're going to be changing it to because of Thanksgiving to the 21st. Also, we're going to be doing some items coming up regarding some animal service issues. We're going to address some of those, address the public safety signs a little bit more. Also discuss further Phillips 66. We're really going to have to follow this close because of a lot of the problems as they remediate the site and all that. They have to be cautious about how they're transporting a lot of the soil out and everything else. So this is going to have to be closely followed. The other thing is we received a letter from a stakeholder, and I also witnessed something happen this morning where that crosswalk at Berrywood and Capitol, we received a letter from a stakeholder that was pregnant with her small child who almost got hit directly on by a vehicle in the crosswalk. It's an ongoing thing, and she's concerned because it's happened more often than not. I saw something happen again this morning there where I screamed at the car because it almost hit small children in the crosswalk with their mother. So it's something we're going to have to address. The biggest concern is how it's going to happen and if it can happen with our budgetary concerns with the city. So I invited anybody to come and help us put our heads together on this next meeting.
That's
John?
it, Melanie? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, John's got his hand up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Chris?
You know, a while back when all the signs were being run over and stuff like that, I drew up a plan for lights to be in there. It's a three-way stop sign there, stop intersection there. People run through it like crazy. There's been numerous numerous accidents there. I think more so than we needed than the stop signs that were put up recently on Capitol. That intersection right there is dangerous, especially because there are kids crossing it, schools around there going to and from school. That park is right there, you know, and it's every time I try to attempt to go left when there's going towards the east, turning south, the other cars that are going up west, you know, it's hard to get in there. They cut you off. They don't stop. They just roll right through it. It's a problem, and you know, eventually, you know, someone's gonna get hurt there. You know, that's all I gotta say. Yeah.
Chris?
Thanks. Yeah, it's a problem all over San Pedro, and I'm sure the rest of the city as well. But I think that we should and we can and should come up with a sort of a coordinated, at least, you know, in terms of what the board has access to in terms of resources. I know, and at least on my part, Youth and Outreach would be willing to work with public safety to come up with a campaign, I guess you'd call it. Because if we're, you know, going to come up with designs for these slow down San Pedro signs, We can come up with some other social media stuff and some other things, maybe get the council district office on board and the Harbor LAPD, because it is really, it's, you know, again, not to give you my life story, but again, I go through areas like near Cabrillo Elementary where people just roll through the stop sign, you know, and it's right in front of an elementary school. And it's just something that people are getting in the habit of doing, and with no deterrent, you know, and without a tragedy, it's just going to get worse until that point. So I think it's, you know, this is the opportunity for us to step up at the very least to make more people conscious to the fact that people are watching what they're doing. So we should coordinate on that.
I totally agree. Thanks, Chris. Ray?
Well, I'm glad Chris brought up the fact that this issue with people rolling through stop signs is not exclusively on Capitol. It's every aspect. Wherever there's wherever there's a stop sign, people roll right through it, and that's the terrible thing that we seem to be seeing. There have been a few times when I'm actually in a crosswalk and people are looking right at me and they just blow right through it. You know, it's like they forgot what their driver safety thing that they used to do when they used to give driver safety in high school and stuff. So I think whatever it is that you're going to do to highlight that, it's not just one street, it's the whole area of at least Northwest, but in talking to other presidents, it's happening in their particular areas. So I think whatever the strategy should be, the strategy should really be something large, something that incorporates, you know, all the right agencies, including the Department of Transportation, including LAPD and our elected officials, and really get a plan going, because this has got to stop. People have already died, and it happened not long ago on Capitol, where there was too fast traffic, and there was an individual who was killed right there because of the traffic problem. So we have to do something big.
The only reason I'm addressing Capitol is we have 2 letters from stakeholders specifically requesting that intersection, that crosswalk, have flashing lights installed in it. And so I have 2 letters from stakeholders. So that's why I'm incorporating it on our agenda to discuss it for that specific address. And then we'll talk about the stop signs and rolling stops. And that's the reason for this. The signs, the public safety signs, is to address that for all of Northwest area. Gwen?
Yeah, and Melanie had encouraged everyone who's interested to please come to our meeting. Everything's on the table, you know, including if everybody recalls, there was a Vision Zero, like an all-city movement to minimize accidents and make it zero, Vision Zero, no more accidents, no more deaths in Los Angeles. And it included studies, traffic studies, that kind of thing. And it's now out in the ether. You know, there were specific intersections that were targeted. I believe that the very last minute, just before Joe Buscaino left office and the mayor left office, they squeezed in the one improvement that was here in CD15. But you know, we should be asking for studies of particular intersections if we have letters of concern. You know, they usually wait until somebody dies before they do anything. But perhaps we should ask for traffic studies for specific intersections. You know, those dots that wake you up and stop you and slow you. There's things that physically make you have to slow down. You know, all those little bumps. It's like ridges that make a bunch of noise when you drive too quickly. All of these kind of things are slow down features that maybe we can, you know, ask for, that aren't all that expensive. So anyway, please come. All right.
Already? And that's it.
John has his hand up.
Oh,
Hey,
John
John.
D'Amico has his hand up.
Yeah, one more time. And it's not just because Melanie brings it to the attention because she lives there and lives right close to it. That intersection is different than most intersections. It's a three-way stop instead of a four-way. Cars running four ways, and they think they can get away with it by just sliding right through it. And that's the problem. And the problem more came about when Target moved in and that street is busy. They try to cut through Berrywood, whatever they can to get around traffic and zoom around. The only thing that's going to stop it is a stoplight, actually green, yellow, and red light. Otherwise, nothing's stopping it at all. And it's a dangerous spot. I mean, I know, Chris, I went to school at Cabrillo Elementary School where there wasn't a four-way stop and there wasn't a stop sign on Gaffey to get up to Cabrillo Elementary School, and there is now, and it's better now. But this intersection right here is dangerous. It's dangerous, and there's been numerous accidents here. I don't know about any deaths or anything that's happened in this intersection, but there's so many close calls that I've been through. And now that I'm not driving and I have a bum leg, my son's been driving me places. And there's so many times at that intersection, I just it's scary for me in a passenger seat. So, something has to be done there. There's no doubt about it. That's my input on that.
Okay,
Okay, public safety, are you through?
I'm done.
Okay,
Yes.
great. Okay, let's move on to youth and outreach. Anyone from youth and
Yeah,
outreach?
real quickly, we obviously did not have our candidate for the youth seat show up, but just to give everybody a heads up in terms of the entire board, we have discussed, are going to continue to discuss floating the idea of bringing back the Pathways to Employment program that Lori Jacobs started and more or less single-handedly ran and organized. It is one of the larger, more impactful, highly recognized uh, events / programs that the board has been involved in, certainly since I've been on the board and in the committee. But it requires a huge amount of work that in the past, again, as I mentioned, was taken on almost solely. I mean, not almost solely, but Lori did such a huge amount of work. It essentially becomes a full-time job for at least a short period of time. That's not something that I think that necessarily the members of the committee are willing or able to provide. So we would need buy-in from the entire board and kind of like an extended commitment to put on a major event. And again, it's one that was highly appreciated, well attended, and people. I think going forward is still going to be very valuable, but it's a big ask and there's a lot of buy-in. So it's something we will be discussing at Youth and Outreach in the coming months. I would invite you to attend those committee meetings. If you feel like you might have something to offer, this is the time to think about doing that, but we will check back with you later. Thanks. Oh, well, I guess, Craig, your hands up.
Yeah, I'm really upset that you would say that Lori started Pathways to Employment. That was a project started by my daughter way before that Lori ever got on the board. And giving credit to somebody else is not really right.
Sorry, I'm sorry. I accept your point. She was running it when I came onto the board, and I didn't know about the previous history, so I stand corrected. Gwen?
Would you please mention the events that are coming up that we should all volunteer for?
Oh, well, we, as per usual, we have Candy Cane Lane and the holiday parade. We will have a sign-up sheet for people who wish to attend the holiday parade. And, again, typically we have youth and outreach members staffing Candy Cane Lane, but any board member that would like to attend, either just be at the table or to help with setup or whatever, we will have, you can basically reach out to either John Barbera or myself before the first week of December, I suppose, if you'd like to participate. Did you have
And
another question?
do we not also have another obligation now that we voted on it?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, we just approved the tree lighting. I actually don't know as much about that event in particular, but I'm going to find out, besides the presence at the table, if there's anything else we need to provide. And I see, I see Adrian Fernandez in the attendees. Go ahead.
Hello. Oh, hi.
Hear you.
Hey, Chris. I really like the idea of the pathways to employment. At Central, I chair the parks and schools, and we did something similar, like career fair, but that ended up we had too many partners and ended up floating away. So, I'd be so interested in maybe kind of doing something. We love working with the other neighborhood councils. So, if you need a hand from Central, I can always help you.
Yeah, very much appreciated. And I think, again, because we're kind of be wrapping in high school and college age young people, it makes sense to make it as broad as possible. And I think one of the strongest points about Pathways to Employment it wasn't just a career fair, and so it had, a variety of services and instruction and advice on a variety of career paths and things like that. So basically your sort of post-secondary education or entering the workforce. So yeah, the broader and the deeper that goes, the better.
Yeah, I mean, anything, if you need help with anything, always, I know John was talking to John about it and, a lot of money and time. So I'd be happy to
Absolutely.
join in. Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna have to cast a wide net, and we're gonna agendize that for our committee meeting on the 25th of this month.
Okay. All right. That's all I want to say.
Thank you.
Okay, is that it, Chris?
Yes, that's it. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Port Environment and Sustainability Committee, anything further?
Yeah, we had no
Thomas?
quorum, so I've said all I need to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Planning and Land Use, I'm not sure we have anyone from Planning and Land Use here today, so I don't see any hands flying up, so let's move on. Community issues, I guess the same thing. I think we don't have anything to report there. Executive Committee. I just wanted to say and promote the fact that we have a very serious issue that is presenting itself, and that is the Phillips 66 closure. And I really would like to see, I know you wanted to do something for public safety, but I truly believe that this is a presentation they have to make before the whole board so the whole community can listen to it. So I like to kind of see that we do that maybe as a presentation for December and get them out here and talk to us about what their plan is and what the strategy is behind it, because that is going to be extremely impactful to our community and
Ray,
our
I talked
neighboring
to
communities.
Nancy and she can't make it in December. She says she wants to do the presentation in January.
Then we can do it in January. But let's just
Yeah.
hold them to it so that they can come up and talk to us about
yeah.
it. Okay, cool. All right. Elections and bylaws. Well, we're coming up with elections, and I couldn't attend to a meeting today, so I'll follow up with the people on the elections piece. Christensen Science Center.
Just one thing, the feed and be fed hours, I don't know if this is in addition to or instead of part of their current hours, which down at the Science Center are Tuesdays, Fridays, 3 to 6 p.m. Because of the time change and getting dark earlier, they are now either also or possibly cutting those other days a little bit shorter, having volunteer hours on Saturdays from 8 to noon, because a lot of the kids that were coming from schools would only be able to be there about an hour before it started getting too dark. So they started Saturday hours 8 to noon for any volunteers. So I just wanted to let everybody know about that if anybody wants to stop by. It doesn't have to be students, it can be anybody, but they are there to volunteer to help with volunteers on Saturday mornings now.
Thank you, Vic. Anything else? That's it?
That's all. Sorry.
Okay, great. Thanks. All right. getting really short on time. Does anyone have anything to say under liaison reports? Liaison, Department of Water and Power, Public Works, LA Film Liaison, Sustainability and Alliance Liaison, Data Liaison. If anyone has anything to say under any of those, please show your hand. And I'm not seeing any hands, so we're finished with item 10. Any announcements, future agenda items? I see no hands. Any final public comments, non-agenda items? I see no hands. Then after I announce that our next meeting will be on Monday, December 9th, and hopefully we'll be able to do this right back at Peck Park. Michael, were you up for that? All right. I see him saying yes, and that makes everybody happy, I'm sure. Maybe not everybody. And so with that, I'd like to adjourn the meeting. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you to the audience who's been here hanging out with us. Everyone have a nice holiday. Good night.
Thank you all.
Thank you.